ממנו, sipurei masios. Epic tales of נחman, tale 7, story, the fly and the spider. The fly and the spider here, נחman announced I would tell you my entire script that I had. There was once a king who had a number of hard wars up against him, and he conquered them and took many captives. In the midst of his words, as he began to tell the story, he interjected and said, "You might think mistakenly that I will tell you everything and that you will be able to understand." The king made a big banquet, a ball every year on the day when he vanquished the war. There at the ball will be all the royal ministers and all the gentlewomen. As the usual way of kings goes, and the gentlemen. And all the gentlemen, as the usual way of kings goes, and comedy shows would be made, and they would make fun of all the nations and the Turks, Hebrew, Ishmaelites, and of all the nations, and they would imitate every nation in the way that the manner and conduct was, and they probably made fun of Jews as well. נחman, the king ordered to bring the book in which the mannerisms and customs of every nation every nation are recorded, and whenever the king would open up the book, and wherever the king would open up the book, he would see Hebrew only, that written in it were the practices and mannerisms of the nation, exactly as they performed a parody of them, because probably the one who performed the comedy also saw the book. While the king was poring over the book, he saw a spider crawling on the edge of the book's pages, and on the pages stood a fly. Presumably, where does a spider go toward a fly? Meanwhile, as the spider was crawling and going toward the fly, a wind came along and lifted that page from the book. The spider could no longer go to the fly. It turned around and crawled exactly as if it were turning around, and no longer wants to go to the fly. Meanwhile, the page fell back in its place, and again the spider wanted to go toward the fly. Again the page lifted and did not permit it. Again the spider turned back. Thus it happened several times. Afterwards, again the spider went toward the fly, and was crawling along until it had already gotten itself up with one foot up on the page. Again the page lifted up, and the spider was already somewhat on the page. Then the page lay down completely. Until the spider was what was left between one page and another, and it was crawling around there, but kept getting left deeper and deeper until nothing whatsoever was left of it. And the fly, I will not tell you what happened to it. And the king had been watching all this and was very astonished. He understood that this is no empty thing, but rather he is being shown something through it. And all the ministers saw that the king is gazing and wondering at it, and the king began to think, what does this signify? And he dozed off over the book. The king dreamed that he was holding a diamond in his hand, and he was looking at it. An exaggerated number of people were emerging from it, and he threw the diamond down out of his hand. And the usual way by kings is that over them hangs the portrait, and on top of that portrait hangs the crown. He saw in the dream how the people who had emerged from the diamond took the portrait and cut off his head. Then they took the crown and threw it into the mud, and they ran towards him to kill him. A page from the book upon which he was lying lifted itself and shielded him, and they were unable to do anything to him, so they went away. Then the page returned to its place. Then again they wanted to kill him, and again the page lifted itself as before. Thus it happened several times. The king very much wanted to see what sort of page is shielding him, that is protecting him, what mannerisms are written on it, from which nation it is, and he was afraid to look, and he began to scream, "Whoa, whoa!" All the ministers who were sitting there heard, and they wanted to wake him up. However, this is no sort of manners to wake up a king. They wrapped around him in order to wake him. They wrapped around him. They begged around him in order to wake him, but he did not hear me. Meanwhile, like tall mountains came to him and asked him, "Why are you screaming so?" It is such a long time already that I sleep, and nobody at all has woken me up, and you have woken me up. He said to him, "How shall I not scream when they are rising up over me and want to kill me, except that this page is shielding me. The mountain answered him, the mountain answered him. If this page is shielding you, then you need have no fear of anything whatsoever. For many enemies rise against me as well, but this same page shields me. Come, I will show you. It showed him how around the mountain stand thousands and myriads of enemies, and they make feasts and rejoice, and they make feasts and rejoice, playing musical instruments and dancing. And the joyful occasion is that some group from them, one of them, thinks and arrives at some wisdom how to go up on the mountain. Hence they make a big celebration and a feast with music and dancing. And likewise each group that is faction from among them, except that this page of these mannerisms that shields you shields me. And on the peak of the mountain is a tablet, then thereupon were written the mannerisms of the page that shields him from whatever people it is, whoever sent the mountain is high. One cannot read the writing, except that at the bottom was a tablet. There was written that whoever has all his teeth, he can go up. All the teeth, he can go up on the mountain. Hashem Yisroch provided that, Hashem Yisroch, blessed God, provided that there grows such a grass there where one needs to go up on the mountain, that whoever comes there, all his teeth fall out. Whether he was going by foot, riding, or driving by carriage, by animals, all the teeth would always fall out. And lying there were piles white with teeth. And lying there were piles white with teeth like mountains. And people from the diamond took the portrait and they put it back together. And they put it back together as previously. And they took the crown and washed it up. And they put it back together as previously. And they took the crown and washed it up and hung them back into place. And the king woke up and immediately looked at the page that had shielded him. Which mannerism of which nation is it? Which mannerism of which nation is it? He saw that written on it is the mannerism of Jews, is the mannerisms of Jews, Hebrew, Israel. He began to look at the page honestly, and he understood the right truth, and he came to a decision that he himself would certainly be a Jew, Hebrew, Israel. However, what does one do to return the entire world back to the best state? To bring them all to the truth. He came to bring them all to the truth. He came to the decision that he would journey in search of a sage who would solve the dream according to his essence. That is, he should interpret the dream exactly as it is. And he took 2 men with him and traveled around the world, not as a king, but as a simple person. And he traveled from one city to the next, and he asked, what does one find such a sage? One finds such a sage who can solve his dream according to his accent, to its essence. They informed him that there and there is found such a sage. He went there and came to the sage and told him the truth, that he is a king and he had vanquished wars, and the entire story that happened is mentioned. And he asked him to solve the dream. This sage answered him, I myself cannot interpret, however there is a time on this day and in this month, then I gather all the spices of the incense, that is all the herbs from which they would make the incense, and I make from them a compound. In other words, he mixes them all up together, and the person is smoked with the incense, and this person thinks to himself what he wants to see and know, and then he knows everything the king resolved, since he had already in fact spent so much time on it. He wouldn't wait longer until that day and that month which the sage had told him. The day came, and the sage did for him so as described above, and smoked him with the incense. The king began to see even things that had happened to him yet before he was born, when the soul was still in the upper world. In other words, on the other world. How they led his soul through all the worlds, and they announced whoever has something to say for the prosecution, that is to speak evil against the soul, let him come. No one was there to speak negatively. Meanwhile, someone did come and was running and shouting, Master of the world, hear my prayer. Master of the world, hear my prayer. If this one should come upon the earth, if this one should come upon the earth, what then have I do? What then have I to do any longer? And for what have you created me? And this was the Samach Mem. In other words, the one who was shouting was the Samach Mem himself, Satan. Samach Mem, Satan, the evil enticer, the evil prosecutor himself. He was yelling, if this soul should go down on the earth, he will no longer have anything to do. He was answered, this soul must go down on the earth, and you give yourself advice. He went away. That is the one who was yelling. They led the soul further through the world. They led the soul further through world, the Olamois, plural of Olamate, term for world, whose root also denotes concealment, hence the world as a clothing, and concealment of the blessed unity, in other words, world, in order to swear it in already, in order that it should go down on the earth, then he had not yet arrived. That is the Samach Man, the evil prosecutor who was yelling earlier, had not yet come, so they sent an emissary after him. He came and brought with him a little old stir, and brought with him a little old stir, a bent over one with whom he was long familiar, that is the accuser, had been the evil accuser, had been acquainted with this old one from long ago, and he laughed and said, laughed and said, I have already given myself bad advice, the soul can already go down on the earth. They released the soul and it went down on the earth, and he saw that he's the king, everything that happened to him from beginning to end, and how he became king, and the wars that he had, etc. And he took captives, and among the captives was a beautiful woman who had every kind of charm in the world. However, this charm was not from herself, rather she would hang a diamond on herself, and the diamond had all kinds of charm, and on account of that it seemed that she had all kinds of charm, and upon that mountain can no others ascend except the wise and the rich, etc. And more than this he did not tell, and more than this he did not tell, and there is still very much within here from, and he took captives until the end was not written properly as he had told it. Those notes following the story, the double Psalm of David when he fled Hashem. Rabbi Tzorei Rabbi coming Molai Hashem, many my adversaries have become. Many are they that rise up against me. The Hashem Agemadi Voidi made him blow his sheep. You Hashem are a shield upon me, my glory and the lifter up of my head. Koili el Hashem Mekuva Yahaneni Mehar Kojaselo. With my voice I call out unto you, Hashem, and he answers me from his holy mountain. Selo, the mountain mentioned above. Ani Shechati Bo Ishano, I lay down and sleep, and I sleep as mentioned above. I can so see, I awake, Lord. I awake, Lord, Iro, Mariva, voice, I am not afraid of leaders of people. Kisu, as told by Lachi, Shinai the Shurim Shin, for you have smitten all my enemies on the cheek. You have broken the teeth of the wicked, for the teeth would fall out when they wanted to go up on the mountain. I'm flipping a upon your people, being like a cello. Stand and contemplate these wonders. If you are a living being, Bonefesh, if you are a living being, Bonefesh, take your flesh off in your teeth, put your life nefesh in your palm. Stand trembling and amazed, let the hairs of your head stand on edge, and return again and wonder at this word. We stand in the highest of heights. Tale 8, the rabbi and his only son. A tale. There was once a rabbi who had no children. Later he had an only son, and he raised him and made him a wedding. נחman,